What do you do when the business you saved from going under starts slipping through your fingers again? Because of the very people you trusted to run it? Gavin Vance hadn't visited one of his 6-bed and breakfast locations in over a year. He'd bought the chain 5 years ago when it was on the verge of bankruptcy. After months of working 16-hour days, rebuilding systems, rehiring staff, and investing in the properties, the business was finally profitable. He'd stepped back hiring district managers, trusting local managers, and focusing on expansion. But lately, things didn't feel right. Guest reviews for the small lakeside B&B in Vermont were dipping slowly, but steadily. A few complaints said the rooms were overpriced for what they got. Gavin had set flat rates for all 6-ins to keep things fair and simple. The manager, Zoe Bradford, had been with the company for 3 years and had always seemed reliable on paper. But gut instinct and spreadsheets weren't matching up. So Gavin packed a duffel bag, trimmed his beard, dyed his gray streaks back to solid brown, and went full incognito. He'd booked under the name Greg Walters, using a company-issued burner account no one could trace back to him. He'd never met Zoe in person, only Zoom calls. He wore thick-rimmed glasses, a baseball cap, and a worn-out hoodie. No one would expect the CEO to roll up looking like a tired freelance photographer. He arrived late afternoon. The inn was a cozy 2-story cottage with a wide porch, white shutters, and a lake view to die for. It should have been fully booked this time of year. Inside, the reception desk was unattended. He rang the bell once. Twice. Finally, a woman with a sharp bob cut, red lipstick, and a clipboard came out from the back room. "You're here for a room?" she asked, eyeing his clothes. "Yep. Greg Walters. I booked online." She tapped the keyboard, then glanced up. "Right. You're in the garden view room. That'll be $175 a night." Gavin blinked. "Huh! I thought it said $120 online." Zoe's smile didn't change. "We've had to adjust rates on arrival due to increased cleaning fees and energy costs. It's all in the fine print." It wasn't. He knew it wasn't. But Gavin played along. "Okay. Fine." He handed over a credit card. Zoe didn't offer a receipt. His room was decent, but the baseboard heater rattled, the bathroom sink had a slow drain, and the mini fridge hummed like a diesel engine. Nothing awful, but not what he was charging guests for. The next morning, Gavin came down for breakfast at 7. No one was at the front desk again. He followed the smell of coffee into the small dining room. There, a young woman with curly black hair and a name tag that read, Maya, was setting up scrambled eggs and plates of muffins. "Morning," she said brightly, clearly surprised to see someone up so early. "Morning," Gavin replied. "You the cook?" "I kinda do everything," she said, laughing. "Breakfast shift, laundry. Sometimes front desk when Zoe's not around." He sat near the window. A few other guests trickled in, mostly older couples. Zoe didn't appear until almost 9. She walked in with sunglasses on, clutching at takeaway coffee. "Maya, you were supposed to refresh the juice pitchers." "I did, around 6:30. It's 8:30. They should have been done again." Maya didn't argue. She grabbed the pitcher and walked to the kitchen. Over the next 2 days, Gavin watched everything. Zoe barely interacted with guests. When she did, it was with a fake smile and a tone that said they were wasting her time. She left early, arrived late, and spent most of her hours in the back office. Maya, on the other hand, was everywhere making beds, helping an elderly couple with their bags, quickly fixing a clogged toilet without complaint. On the 3rd morning, Gavin pretended to be a confused guest. He walked up to the front desk while Zoe was texting behind it. "Hey, I was just wondering how come the price online showed one rate but when I got here, it was higher? Is that normal at your other locations too?" Zoe didn't look up. "Each inn adjusts based on what we think guests can afford." "You mean depending on how they look?" She looked up sharply. "Excuse me?" Gavin held her gaze. "I saw a couple check in yesterday. You told them it was $150. I asked." Their room was the same as mine. Zoe's jaw tightened. Maybe the system messed up. No. You changed it. You look people up and down and decide what to charge. She leaned forward, voice low. Listen, Greg, or whatever your real name is, you got a problem. Take it up with corporate. Gavin stood still for a second. Then he said, calm but firm, yeah. I think I will. And he walked out the front door. Gavin didn't leave town after walking out the front door. He drove 20 minutes down the road, checked into a roadside motel under his real name, and made 2 calls, one to his executive assistant, and the other to the company's operations director, Lauren. He gave no details, just told them to put together every internal audit, payroll report, and guest satisfaction survey from the Vermont Inn for the past 12 months. Then he waited. By the next afternoon, the documents landed in his inbox. What he found didn't surprise him, it confirmed what he'd already seen. Room rates at the Vermont location fluctuated wildly from day to day, sometimes even hour to hour. Zoe had been manually overriding the reservation system's automated pricing, entering custom rates for walk-ins and same-day bookings. The notes she left in the system were vague at best. Adjusted for demand, client upgrade, seasonal rate. She wasn't using the system to serve the business. She was gaming it. More troubling, the payroll record showed that Maya had logged over 50 hours a week for the past 6 weeks straight. She was classified as part-time. No overtime pay. No benefits. No manager on site during most of her documented shifts. Gavin's jaw tightened as he read. He returned early the next morning just after sunrise. The air was crisp and damp, the lake surface still and glassy. He parked at the far end of the lot where no one would see his car from the front lobby. The inn's curtains were mostly drawn, but the kitchen window glowed faintly. Inside, Maya was already working. She looked tired, not in a dramatic way, but in the quiet, worn-out way of someone who'd had too many early mornings in a row. She was folding napkins at the breakfast counter, a small bandage on her left forearm and faint bruising near her wrist. Gavin stepped inside and gently cleared his throat. She looked up, surprised. Oh, didn't expect anyone this early today. I had to run an errand, figured I'd grab coffee on the way back, Gavin said. He paused. You okay? She blinked, caught off guard. Yeah. Just dropped a stack of trays yesterday. Caught one wrong. Gavin didn't push, but he noted it. She moved stiffly, favoring her right side. You're always here, he said. Do you ever get a day off? She gave a short laugh. Sundays, usually. Unless someone calls out. Or Zoe needs me to cover. Gavin poured himself coffee from the thermal pot. You ever think about leaving? Must be easier jobs out there. I've thought about it, she said after a moment. But the guests like me. And I like the place. It's just not always easy. He didn't speak again until she returned to the kitchen. At 9 sharp, Zoe arrived. This time she wore a beige coat, dark sunglasses, and a scarf tied around her neck. She walked in with a half-eaten croissant in one hand, balancing a designer tote in the other. She didn't greet Maya or glance at the morning guests. She walked straight to the hallway office and shut the door. Gavin followed. He waited 5 seconds, then knocked twice. What? Came Zoe's voice, muffled but sharp. He opened the door. She looked up from her phone, frowning. Guests are supposed to wait at the desk. I'm not a guest, Gavin said calmly. He stepped inside. Zoe frowned deeper. Excuse me? He closed the door behind him. My name's Gavin Vance. I own this place. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She blinked once, then again. I've been staying here for the past 3 days, he continued. Undercover. Watching how this location is being run. Zoe sat still. Her hands dropped to her lap. I know you've been adjusting prices based on how people look. I've seen you charge different rates for the same rooms. I've seen you lie to guests. And I've read the payroll records. You've been leaving Maya alone to run the entire operation for weeks. She's part-time. She's not trained to be a manager, and she's injured. Zoe's voice was low when she finally spoke. She didn't tell me she was hurt. That's not an answer, Gavin said. She shouldn't be lifting that much alone in the first place. I didn't know it was this bad, she muttered. You knew exactly what you were doing, Gavin replied. You've been overcharging guests, underpaying staff, and hiding it in the system. You've been ignoring maintenance requests and cutting corners while you sit in this office or come in late. I've kept the location profitable, she said, her voice rising. I've hit every quarterly target. The numbers are up. Gavin's expression didn't change. You've hit the numbers by exploiting the people who keep this place running. That's not leadership. That's manipulation. Zoe stood up. You don't understand how hard it is to keep a team together. No one wants to work anymore. I've had 3 people quit this year. I'm doing what I can. Then you should have asked for help, he said. Instead, you hid the problems and made Maya carry your workload. She didn't respond. You're done here, Gavin said quietly. Effective immediately. Zoe's face went pale. You're firing me? You're lucky I'm not pursuing legal action. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She grabbed her bag and walked out without another word. Gavin stood alone in the office for a moment. Then he stepped out into the hallway and walked back toward the dining room. Maya was wiping down a table. She looked up as he approached. Hey, she said, uncertain. Everything okay? He nodded. Can we talk for a minute? She followed him into the small sitting area near the front windows. I need to be honest with you, Gavin said. My name isn't Greg. I'm the owner. Gavin Vance. Maya froze. You're... Wait. Seriously? He nodded. I've been watching how this place is being managed. You've been holding it together almost entirely on your own. That ends today. She stared at him, speechless. Zoe's gone. I let her go this morning. Maya's lips parted slightly, but she didn't answer. You've been overworked, underpaid, and left without support. That changes now. Starting immediately, you're being promoted to interim property lead. You'll be paid accordingly. Full-time benefits, and a bonus for the hours you've already put in. Maya's voice finally returned. I don't even know what to say. You've earned it, Gavin said. You've been the only reason guests kept coming back. I've read the reviews. They mention your name more than anything else. She looked away, blinking quickly. I'll be staying a few more days. He added. We're bringing in a facilities tech to handle the plumbing, heating, and anything else that's broken. You'll get help. We're also hiring a new assistant manager, someone you'll help interview. Maya exhaled slowly, like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. You okay? He asked. She nodded. Yeah. Just. Takes a second to believe it. I get it, he said. You've been carrying too much for too long. That stops now. She looked at him, and this time her smile reached her eyes. Not forced. Not polite. Just quiet relief. Gavin stood and offered his hand. Let's fix this place the right way. She shook it. Yeah. Let's do that. By the following morning, the rhythm of the inn had already begun to shift. Gavin stayed out of sight for the first few hours, giving Maya space to adjust to her new role without the pressure of being watched. He relocated to a small guest room on the second floor that had been out of service, a corner suite with a cracked window latch and a ceiling fan that clicked faintly on its lowest setting. Maintenance was scheduled to arrive the next day, and the plan was clear: stabilize operations, support Maya, and bring in reinforcements before the next weekend rush. But things didn't wait that long. At 7:30 sharp, the front door swung open with a gust of cold air. A man in his mid-30s with a tight black jacket and a clipboard stepped inside. His boots were wet from the slush outside, and he carried himself like someone who expected people to get out of his way. Maya, standing behind the front desk with a tray of freshly printed invoices, looked up. "Can I help you?" He glanced at her name tag, then back at the clipboard. "Ben Carter. Regional Compliance. I'm here to inspect payroll documentation and guest incident logs. Got a call from corporate yesterday." Maya hesitated. "I haven't seen anything about a visit." "It's not a visit," Ben said without lowering his voice. "It's an emergency check." Gavin, hearing the exchange from the hallway, stepped forward. "We can talk in the office," he said, prompting Ben to look up and study his face. Ben's eyes narrowed. "You're the owner," Gavin said evenly. "Come on." Inside the office, Ben flipped through forms with the speed of someone who'd been through 100 of these before. He paused at a few entries, frowning. "This isn't going to be a quiet cleanup," Ben said, not looking up. "There's a pattern of manipulated pricing, gaps in shift coverage, and guest complaints that never made it into the system. You're going to need a formal audit." "I'm aware," Gavin said. "Start it. I don't want anything overlooked." Ben's tone shifted. "You sure you want full transparency on this? You're the owner. People don't usually ask for the heavy version." "I'm not people," Gavin said. "Do what you have to do." Ben nodded once and got to work. Out in the dining room, Maya was restocking the tea rack when the delivery van arrived. It was 2 hours earlier than scheduled. The driver, a stocky man with thick gloves and a Bluetooth earpiece, seemed annoyed from the moment he stepped out. "You folks changed the order again?" he asked, unloading crates onto a dolly. Maya walked over. "No, it should be the same as last week. Eggs, cream, berries, and coffee filters." He tapped a screen. "Well, someone signed off on a reduction. No berries, half the eggs, no filters." She frowned. "That doesn't make sense. I double-checked the reorder form yesterday." "Take it up with head office," he said, shrugging. Gavin stepped outside, his coat open against the wind. "You deliver here often?" "Every week," the driver said, not looking up. "Used to be smooth. Lately it's been a mess. Last month someone called and told us to cancel all dairy for 3 weeks straight. Then called back and yelled at us for not bringing any." "Who was that?" "Happened during those phone and orders." "Woman. Sharp voice. Thought she ran the place." Gavin nodded. "You'll be getting the correct order next week. And if anyone calls with changes, confirm it with Maya from now on." The driver gave him a side glance. "You the new manager?" "Something like that." Back inside, Maya was doing inventory in the supply closet. She looked up when Gavin entered. "Why were the deliveries being changed?" "So we didn't want to pay for extras," Maya said, crouching next to a box of mismatched linens. She used to say guests didn't need gourmet fluff. She'd cut items from the list and tell me to make do. I started bringing stuff from home. Oatmeal, honey, fruit cups. Gavin blinked. "You used your own groceries?" "I couldn't tell guests we ran out because someone didn't want to spend $12 on jam." Gavin crouched beside her. "You shouldn't have had to do that. From now on, if something's missing, you flag it. You're not covering for anyone anymore." Maya gave a faint nod, then stood, brushing lint from her slacks. "I'll prep what we have for tomorrow. Might be enough for a simple spread. Let's make it work for one more day," Gavin said. "Help's coming." By noon, the first of the temporary support staff arrived. A young man named Lucas, sent from another location, stepped in wearing a pressed shirt and a clean apron. He'd been briefed on the situation and didn't ask questions. He went straight to work helping with laundry and refilling housekeeping carts. Maya paused when she saw him folding towels in the back hallway. "You're here to make sure you don't have to run this place alone anymore," he said simply. She smiled, brief but real, and returned to her tasks. Later that afternoon, a problem surfaced that no one had anticipated. An elderly guest in room 4 called the desk. Maya answered, then her eyes widened. "The bathroom ceiling's leaking," she said to Gavin, covering the receiver. "She says water's dripping near the light fixture." Gavin followed her upstairs. The ceiling above the shower had a visible water stain, and a slow drip had begun to darken the paint. Worse, the drywall bulged slightly soft to the touch. "I had maintenance look at this 6 weeks ago," Maya said, voice tense. "They said it was fixed." "They probably patched the paint," Gavin said, examining the ceiling. "Not the pipe." He moved the guest to an upgraded room immediately, then shut down room 4. The plumber, already scheduled for the next morning, was told to prioritize it. That night, Gavin met Maya in the kitchen after hours. She was sitting on a stool, tying up a garbage bag with slow, tired motions. "You ever think about quitting?" he asked. She looked up. "Before this week?" "Every other day." "And now?" She exhaled through her nose. "Now it feels like there's a reason to stay." Gavin leaned against the counter. "I need your help finding the right person to run this place. Someone steady. Not flashy. Just consistent." "You want me to pick my boss?" "I want someone you can trust." "You've earned that." She didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, "I've got someone in mind. Used to work with me at the old hotel downtown. Left when her mom got sick. She's back in town now. Bring her in for a trial shift. We'll go from there." "I will." Gavin stood. "I'm heading out. I'll be back early." As he reached the doorway, Maya called out, "Thanks for not just selling the place." He turned. "That was never the plan." She nodded, then got back to work. Behind her, Lucas entered with a fresh bin of towels. The rhythm was slow, steady. Not fixed. But better than it had been in a long time. Gavin stepped outside into the cold, his breath fogging in the air. Ian stood quietly behind him, lights warm in the windows. He didn't feel proud. Not yet. That would come later. For now, he felt responsible. And ready to make it right. The first snow of the season came 2 days after the ceiling leak was sealed. It fell in slow, quiet sheets covering the lake's edge, dotting the porch railings, and dampening the worn stone path that led to the inn's front entrance. Inside, the breakfast room was full but not chaotic. Guests chatted over hot plates and coffee. The new rhythm was deliberate, a balance of effort and order. Not perfect, not polished, but no longer held together by one person's exhaustion. Maya moved between tables with a clipboard in hand, her steps even, her focus steady. She paused near the fireplace to answer a question from a couple visiting from Albany, then crossed to the buffet, where Lucas was checking the fruit tray. "Do we still have the almond butter packets?" she asked. "Should be in dry storage. Want me to grab them?" "Yeah." Table 6 asked. He nodded and disappeared around the corner. From the hallway, Gavin watched for a moment before stepping into the lobby. He hadn't checked out yet, though most guests assumed he was long gone. He wanted to see the place function without his presence pushing it forward. So far it had. He found Maya in the laundry room a little after 11, sorting towels into labeled bins. She wore a clean button-down and dark jeans, her sleeves rolled to the elbow. Her movements were methodical but not rushed. "You got a minute?" Gavin asked. She looked up, brushing a hand over her forehead. "Yeah." "What's up?" "Your friend. The one you mentioned for the assistant manager role. Still interested?" "She came yesterday. Stayed for the afternoon. Helped reset the pantry, did a room flip. Quiet, but sharp. She's interested." "What's her name?" "Jade. Jade Morales." "You trust her?" "With a lot more than a breakfast shift." Gavin nodded. "Bring her in for a full week. Paid trial. We'll put her on the schedule." Maya's eyes didn't widen or shift. She just nodded once. "I'll let her know." Gavin leaned against the doorframe. "How are you holding up?" Her answer came without hesitation. "Tired. But not the same kind. It's manageable." "Good. Because I want you to take next Wednesday off." She blinked. "Why?" "There's a regional leadership workshop in Concord. I want you to attend. 2 days. Paid. You'll meet other property leads, go through policy updates, and sit in on the new guest experience program we're rolling out. She hesitated. You think I'm ready for that? You've already been doing the job. The training will just give you the language for it. She didn't argue. All right. I'll go. Lucas will cover while you're gone. Jade can shadow him. It'll stretch the team, but they'll manage for 2 days. From the hallway, the low hum of a vacuum started, followed by the soft clatter of dishes in the distance. The building felt lived in again. That afternoon, Gavin met with the plumber outside room 4. The repairs had been completed, the drywall replaced, the line resealed. The light fixture was upgraded to a sealed LED model. The room smelled faintly of paint, but the window was cracked open to air it out. How's the rest of the plumbing? Gavin asked. The plumber, a local contractor named Dale, scratched his beard. Couple of spots worth watching. Room 2 has a slow drain that needs snaking. Boiler's working fine, but it's older. If it goes, it'll go fast. Send me a quote for full replacement, Gavin said. We'll budget it for spring. He walked the property once more before returning to the office. The guest logs showed a full weekend ahead. Bookings were up, but not because of aggressive pricing. Maya had restored the original rates, and guests weren't pushing back. The reviews were trending positive again, short notes about warmth, attentiveness, and a sense of calm. Inside the office, Lucas was organizing the supply shelf. He paused when Gavin entered. You're leaving soon, right? Tomorrow, Gavin said. Driving out in the morning. You think you'll do this again? The undercover thing? Only when I stop trusting my reports. Lucas didn't smile, but his voice carried a trace of amusement. Guess I'll keep mine tight then. Gavin turned to the desk, picked up a folder, and handed it to him. That's your temporary assignment extension. 2 more weeks. Cover while the team stabilizes. After that, we'll reassess. Lucas flipped it open. Thanks. Gavin stepped into the kitchen just as Maya was tidying up the dry rack. Her sleeves were rolled lower now, and her name tag had been swapped out for a fresh one. This one read, Property Lead. He nodded at it. Looks good on you. Still getting used to it. You'll wear it in. She wiped her hands on a towel. So what happens next? I go back. You keep this place moving. We'll check in weekly. You'll have access to the same systems as every other lead. Payroll, inventory, supply orders. If something breaks, you flag it. If someone underperforms, you document it. And if I need something? You call me. Direct. She leaned against the counter. You really think this place can stay steady? I think it already is. The front door opened in the distance. A gust of cold air swept through, followed by the sound of boots on hardwood. Jade's voice carried softly from the lobby, greeting a guest with calm professionalism. Maya tilted her head toward the sound. She's good. I'll take your word for it. Gavin reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small envelope. He handed it to her. She opened it slowly. Inside was a check and adjustment for unpaid overtime, backdated 3 months. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't say anything. I went through the hours myself, Gavin said. It's not a favor. It's what's owed. She nodded once, folded the check, and tucked it into her back pocket. Outside, the snow had begun to pick up again. Not heavy, just steady enough to soften the edges of the trees and the roofline. A quiet kind of cold. Gavin stood at the door a while later, his duffel over his shoulder, the wind brushing past his collar. Maya walked him out. Keep it simple, he said. System, structure, trust. That's it. I can do that. He paused, then looked at her directly. You ever feel like something's off, you don't wait. You bring it up. Doesn't matter who it is. She didn't blink. Understood. He offered his hand. She shook it. Then he stepped off the porch, down the stone path, and into the snow-covered lot. His car headlights flashed as he unlocked it, and within seconds, he was gone, tires crunching over frozen gravel. Back inside, Jade was reviewing the housekeeping schedule with Lucas. The front desk phone rang once. Maya answered it with a calm, practiced cadence. The day moved forward. Not rushed. Not fragile. Just steady. And growing stronger.